Hi, my name is Dr. Galuszynski. I'm a postdoc at SANBI, hosted by the Nelson Mandela University in Port Elizabeth. I'm currently working on piloting South Africa's first biodiversity management plan for ecosystems, or BMP-Es, and I'm just going to briefly share the progress that we've made on that project. So basically, a BMP-E is a contractual agreement between landowners and national governments that stipulates a series of specific management activities and a management timeline for an ecosystem. In the contract, a number of implementing agents and monitoring agents are identified, and they are the ones responsible for actually doing the biodiversity management actions. So a BMP-E, as I said, gives a set of clear management goals and objectives for an ecosystem. It also describes the activities that should be avoided in order to ensure the persistence of the ecosystem. And it outlines who's responsible for implementing those management activities and ultimately who's responsible for paying for those management activities at the end of the day. So in order to make BMP-Es more feasible, there's a series of additional tools that can be implemented with the BMP-E, and these are generally focused around accessing funds for the management actions. So one tool is a Biodiversity Management Agreement, or BMA, and a BMA offers the potential for income tax reductions or it provides landowners the opportunity to claim back any management expenses that they may have against their income tax. So the BMA must specify which management actions specifically are going to be claimed back against tax, and depending on the feasibility of that, it will be decided whether BMA is a feasible option or not. Alternatively, you can enter into a stewardship BMP-E, where the portion of the property that's under biodiversity management can become declared as a protected environment or ecosystem. And by doing so, landowners are offered the opportunity to have their race rebates for the portion of the property that's under stewardship. This offers the highest level of protection for the area under the BMP-E, as the area is either declared as a protected area or a protected environment. So in order to pilot the BMP-E, we had to find a suitable ecosystem. We started looking at the Sundays thicket, but unfortunately there was poor stakeholder engagement, and we realized that it's unfeasible to do the work there. So we then looked at the Groot thicket, where there are fewer stakeholders, but again, we didn't have a local champion, so engagement was challenging. And during COVID, we decided to move somewhere a bit more accessible in Port Elizabeth. So we looked at the coastal thicket forest mosaic system and realized that this property is already under biodiversity management. So we then looked at the larger South Coast corridor system. And here, most of the property is owned by the local municipality, who currently don't have the finances to implement novel management actions. So that ecosystem was excluded, as well as the Hume River Happy Valley ecosystem that's owned by the local municipality. We looked at the Barkens Valley, which is a river that runs through Port Elizabeth and is identified as a critical biodiversity area, but the property or the ecosystem is owned by a large number of stakeholders, and it wouldn't be feasible to target that area for a one-year pilot. So we then identified the PARSON'S as a good potential ecosystem, and I'll discuss that ecosystem a bit more. So the PARSON'S is a large natural area that's on the western urban edge of Port Elizabeth. Currently, the PARSON'S has very little development on it, and it supports terrestrial as well as freshwater ecosystems, and is adjacent to an existing protected area. So, as I mentioned, PARSON'S supports a number of sensitive freshwater ecosystems, including intact wetlands that support breeding populations of protected species such as the giant African bullfrog. Currently, the ecosystem is threatened by urban sprawl as well as mining activities, and it requires a biodiversity management plan to ensure the persistence of the intact vegetation and habitat in the area. The Parson'S Flare consists of Category 1 and Category 2 critical biodiversity areas that are prone to being fragmented under development. So currently mining is taking place in the area, as well as the development of infrastructure such as roads, as well as some housing. The habitat in the Parson'S Flare is the critically endangered Algoa sandstone fynbos, as well as the vulnerable Bethelsdorp bonfeld that's found along the waterways. Neither of these vegetation types are well protected in the Eastern Cape and require further conservation action. As such, the Parson'S Flare has been identified as an important area for the National Protected Areas Expansion Strategy. However, it's largely owned by private stakeholders that intend to mine as well as develop housing and infrastructure in the area. So, but because of the National Protected Area Expansion Strategy, the Parson'S Flare does seem to offer the potential for biodiversity stewardship and to have part of BMP-E declared as a protected environment. So after negotiating with the landowners and finding out what their developmental goals are, we've settled on a BMP-E footprint that targets protecting the freshwater ecosystems as well as sections of the Algoa sandstone fynbos. As part of the BMP-E, we intend to include a road buffer to promote connectivity amongst the various portions of the properties that are going to be under protection. The majority of the BMP-E's management actions will focus on clearing invasive species and ensuring that the freshwater ecosystems remain healthy and intact, and that the Algoa sandstone fynbos is preserved in an intact state and not replaced by invasive acacia. We've prioritized habitat connectivity within the BMP-E and hope to link with the management of the protected area north of the Parson'S Flare. And by doing so, we hope to work with the Metro's spatial development framework to integrate the BMP-E into the Metro's open space systems and create safe and healthy natural spaces for people to engage with. By targeting a large natural area that's destined to be developed by private landowners, we hope to show that BMP-Es can be effective tools for proactively managing biodiversity in a way that ensures that post-development, the landscape's not degraded and neglected, which tends to be the case in a lot of fynbos ecosystems, especially in Port Elizabeth and the Eastern Cape, where as development happens, the remaining natural vegetation becomes heavily invaded and only mitigated at a much later stage after a lot of biodiversity features have been degraded or lost. So through this work, we hope to ensure that by actively managing the remaining intact habitat, we are able to protect species as well as ecosystem functioning in an urban context. Thank you for listening to the talk, and I look forward to answering any questions.